Well, we don't do this very often on the channel, but we're going to look at our most overlooked knives, kitchen knives. And so what you're looking at right now is one of my dull strong knives that they sent me. It's an awesome, awesome knife. But the fact is, there's a lot of us that will drop $300 to $500 on a pocket knife and never once think about it. But yet we buy a $30 set of garbage knives at Walmart or Costco. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to look at some bad knives. We're going to look at some good knives. I have a couple examples of both. So let's go ahead and look at that logo. So there's probably a lot of you going, why is Mike doing kitchen knife videos? Well, part of it is because now I have some really nice ones that I own. I've had nicer kitchen knives before in the past, and I still have some really nice ones, but these ones kind of really just opened up my eyes to like the fact that we overlook our most used knives. There is no way that you're going to use your pocket knife as much as you use your kitchen knives. There's just no way. You cook every day. So we're going to get some of these off the table. We're going to look at these cheap ones. I have some really cheap ones, and I have some middle ground ones, and then I have one of the dull strong premium ones. So this is getting into the nicer end. So we're going to look at them, and I'm going to show you the things that are wrong with these knives and what I have started looking for in kitchen knives. So let's go ahead and we'll start down here on the low end of the spectrum, and we'll talk about why some of these knives are a waste of money. Just on this one, there's a lot of stuff going on here. This is not a very comfortable handle. This is just a rounded, skinny handle. It's not real comfortable. You're not getting a good offset to the handle. This is a cheap steel. You can see it is listed as superior steel, no stain. But then when you really get into it, you can see how poorly ground this is. I know that there was a guy, Canadian, something. He started calling people out about not talking about the edge. I'll call that out right now. If I don't talk about the edge, it's a non-issue. As a professional sharpener, I'm going to tell you right up front if the knife did not come sharp. This knife, for a kitchen knife, does not have much of a transition. So what you're going to want to look for is something that has a nice thin transition. You'll see that in some of the nicer ones. The other thing too is, why would you terminate here? Kitchen knives always come down pretty much either to a nice finger guard bolster, or they're ground all the way down so that you can maximize the use of that blade. And then these, like I said, these handles, and the fact that that is an unknown steel. Now, this came from my buddy Tino. These are garbage. They weren't ground very well. You can see the uneven grind on this, but the fact is that's still really thick behind the edge, which is one of the last things you would ever want in a kitchen knife. So these little cheap sets, like, you wind up spending so much more in the long run because you wind up having to replace these because they don't ever hold an edge. They don't sharpen up well, and they're just not going to get you where you want to go. So these super cheap knives, like these $30 sets that you see, you got to figure that's like Cutlery Corner Network. You're paying $30 for 8 knives. Figure you're probably not, and a block, and you're probably not getting anything good. So these cheap $30 sets are not something that I would jump into. So let's look at the next kind of tier of knives. Sorry, I didn't mean to say I was going to jump tiers. I was going to jump to the next knife. So this is the first kitchen knife I ever bought. I bought this when I was like a 20-year-old sailor, had just moved out in town off the ship, and I bought a Farberware set of knives. It was 2 knives and a cutting board. It was this kitchen knife and there's this chef's knife and a paring knife. Now, this knife had exactly the same issues, but because I'm a professional sharpener, what I did was I just emptied out that hollow. I thinned this back. Now, this knife doesn't get used anymore. This just basically has sentimental value as the first knife that I ever had, and it's the first knife we had when my wife moved in, when we started dating. We use this for things that we wouldn't use any of our good kitchen knives for, such as cutting frozen meat, where you might want to get I've used a rubber mallet and pounded this through frozen hamburger. Don't ever tell my father. He used to yell at my mother for that. But I have this knife for that. Now, this is a much better knife than the one we just looked at, but it's still got a lot of issues. Farberware stainless china. Don't know what stainless steel it is. This, I do have to say, this knife has held up pretty well, considering I bought this when I was 20-ish, and I'm 48 now. So 28 years now I've had this. But it's still not a great knife. It's got a lot of the same problems. It's really thick. And the problem you have is Did I thin this edge out a lot? Yeah, I really did. I got it nice and thin, but the problem is you have this big thick transition here that's not going to be good for like potatoes and things like that. It just isn't great. So there you go. You know, you can buy these onesies, twosies. This was a small set of just like 2 knives and a cutting board at one point that I bought. I don't even have the paring knife anymore. But yeah, so these are pretty much the same. Those onesie, twosie sets. This was a little bit more expensive. I think it was like $30 for 2 knives. That set that you just saw before was like $30 for like 10 or 12 knives. So you got to admit you get what you pay for. So let's look at the next bracket as we work forward. So as you move up the cutlery ladder, you get into stuff like this. This is a J.R. Henkel's by Zwilling. This is a twin signature Chinese chef's knife. Now, my wife loves this knife, and it's not a bad knife, but I will tell you, this knife for $89 does not perform the way I would want it to because I've had much better kitchen knives. But this does resolve some of the issues we saw in the other knives to a point. This knife is a much thinner blade stock. It's got much smoother transition on this. It's so much thinner back here and here. Your issues with your termination on that and the comfortability issues on that kind of been taken care of. And you have a nice palm swell, nice feeling handle. So to a point, it's resolved some of the issues. But if you look at the bevel that's on this, very, very thick behind the edge still. Even though it's ground a lot better, it's still very thick behind the edge. And you still have the problem where all I have is ice hardened, no stain. So I don't have any indications what the steel is. And then this handle, the handle on this is a very light feeling, cheap kind of plastic. The one on the last one actually felt like it might have been a type of more micarta or sorts, but very hollow. I've had some knives like this that actually will crack and things like that. So these are better. You're stepping up the ramp, but it's still not great. Now, this works great for all the things that we really would do around a house. I'm not a professional chef, but I still have issues with this, and I'm not a fan of this knife in general, of this shape. I'm not a fan of the Japanese chef's knife or Chinese chef's knife style. So better. Yeah, but it's still, we're in a realm where there's a lot of things still wrong with this. And then this is really sharp. So if you're going to use this knife a lot and you get way up in there, if you don't, like I use a knife in a pinch grip like this, but if you're way up in there, that could be something that would bother you, you know, if you got sensitive hands. So there you go. That's kind of the middle ground-ish when you get into it. These are about $89. And still, for $89, now that I know what you can get in price ranges, I'd be pretty disappointed with this if I had paid for this. This was a gift. So sorry to the person that gave it to us, but it's not great. So let's look at the next one. We'll start getting into some of the higher end, nicer stuff. Moving up the ladder, and I put both of these up here because Dollar Strong sent me both of these knives, and they are definitely 2 really nice knives. This is kind of their higher end stuff, but this is just their run of the mill stuff that you get. And if you look at it, this is done very, very well. This has the stuff that I would want to look for in a knife. The comfort in the grip and things like that. But when you get down to the meat and bones of it, this thing, it's so thin. This will cut anything. What you're looking for is the most bang for your buck. The ease of cutting with this is really good. As you're cutting into things, you want that thin profile, but you also want it to be stable. Now, I do know that there's no steel listed on this, but if you hang on just a second, we'll talk about the steel. This is another one. So this is a Japanese style knife, and it's done incredibly well. It's got the nice hollow on the back. As you can see, I do use these knives. This has been used and sharpened. But this is a very specific type of knife. This is a Japanese poultry knife. But just looking at the handles that are on these and things like that, you're getting a higher level of knife with this than you are even with this. This is a very, very nice knife. And it's done exactly as I would expect a Japanese kitchen knife to be done. You've got the right kind of angle. I have sharpened it. So the things that I do want to mention is these aren't an unknown steel. Hang on just a second. Let me get the packaging and I can show you. Higher end knives, you're getting a little bit more information. Now, this is what's on the packaging box, but you know, some of this stuff you don't have to worry about, you know, but what you want to look for is what's the steel. Now, so this is X50 CRMO V15 high carbon German steel. I looked it up. It's an analog to 4116, which is a decent steel for kitchen knives. It's got your sharpening bevel per side. so that you know. Hand sharpened 14 to 16 degrees per side, and your Rockwell and all this stuff is on there. So you know your steel on this one, they have it listed here as well. So this would be this knife. This knife is an AUS 10, which is an incredible steel. It's a single bevel, 62 Rockwell, 20-degree angle, traditional octagon handle. They give you all the information you would want to know about this, because that helps you know what you're getting into if you're sharpening. So if you're someone that uses a fixtured system, you want to know some of your angles. You want to have an idea of where it's going to be. This one came hand sharpened. So these are some really higher end knives that are still affordable. These, I think this one, MSRP on this one's 140 and MSRP on this one's 249. So, I mean, you're looking into the higher echelon a little bit, but when you look at how much we pay, just to put it in perspective, that's a $1,200 knife. I use this way more than I use this. Don't get me wrong, this gets used a lot. These are knives that we overlook all the time. Any one given time, I might have a $400 or $500 pocket knife, but then I'm gonna buy a garbage knife for in the kitchen that I'm gonna use more than I use my pocket knife. So this was just something I kind of wanted to do. I wanted to point this out. These are great knives. Dahlstrom these handles are solid. Look at that. Solid, solid, solid. I think these are ABS plastic. This is actual micarta, red and black. Actually, I think it's G10. Is it? It's marked on here. Let's see. G10. These are G10 handles. So sometimes it's hard to tell. But yeah, super, super nice handles on this. Nice handles on this. The weight and balance on these are great. So not just because I have the affiliate with Dahlstrom, but the fact they sent these to me, and they are incredibly easy and great to use. I just thought I would do this video. So if you're interested in these, there's an affiliate link down below for Dahlstrom. We'll save you 10%, but these are super nice. But you can get other brands. I'm not saying that this is what I'm trying to just shill, but there's a lot of other brands out there that you can get good kitchen knives, and not necessarily super expensive kitchen knives. Just pay attention to what you're buying. Don't fall for like the flash pop. Oh, you're going to get $30. You're getting 8 knives. Yeah, divide 30 by 8 and you're going to get that per knife, if that. Plus you get a wooden block. So, you know, if they're selling you knives at that price, they're probably not very good. So let's turn this around, do some final thoughts, and send you out about your day. So there you go, guys. Like I said, this wasn't anything to be sponsored. I just have these really nice knives from Dahlstrom, and I thought it would be cool to be able to use them to show some differences. You don't have to break the bank is the big point of it. There's some really expensive knives out there, custom kitchen knives and things like that I have seen, that I have sharpened, and I don't think any of them are better than some of the good commercial brands. I'm going to be preferential towards Dahlstrom because they are one of the channel's sponsors. They've provided me a bunch of stuff. Like I said, not a sponsored video, but I've seen the quality of the knives they have. I love this knife. So it's just one of those things that I really didn't think about it until I got a bunch of really good kitchen knives in here recently, not just Dahlstrom stuff. So that's it on this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm trying to find content that bridges a gap between different communities. So hopefully this does that. If you like the videos, give them a thumbs up. If you don't like them, give them a thumbs down, but please try to tell me why. I can't change the content if you don't tell me what you don't like. If you want to support the channel, it's as simple as like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell icon. If you do hit the bell icon, make sure you get notifications set to all and have notifications turned on your device, or you will not get notified of everything I put up. If you want to support the channel financially, there's a bunch of ways you can do it. First and foremost, it's like self-sponsorship. I have a ton of affiliate links down below, including the Dahlstrom one. And the Dahlstrom one will save you 10% at checkout, as will my coffee brand coffee, 5% at checkout. There's 2 more that have discounts associated. Oh, Atlas VPN is like 80% off right now. That's the VPN I use. And Airfare Consolidator can save you up to 3% overall on your commercial domestic airline fares. But all of them support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything at checkout, nothing extra at checkout. Other ways you can do it, I have a membership. It's all tier-based. I have it set up so that everyone has access to my Gilded server, which is just like Discord. Baseline and premium tier members are automatically entered into a giveaway I do on the Gilded server, and the premium guys have access to a sharpening tutorial series here on YouTube. That's the only way you can get it. And the final way is I have a merchandise store on Ember Shirt Co. where you can pick up my merchandise or other creators' merchandise for a 10% discount with my coupon code CrazySharp, capital C, capital S, CrazySharp. All one word. Save you 10% at checkout. Guys, I love y'all. Keep it clean in the comments section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday, and I will see you in the next video.